following is a video training module on the Supplier by businesstraining.com. Greetings and welcome to the Supplier. We are pleased you have selected our program to make you acquainted with selecting suppliers that are going to be an asset to your organization. As a purchasing professional, selecting a supplier will be a major part of your function. Therefore, it is important to know how to qualify a supplier, what attributes should you look for in a supplier, and how to find suppliers. This presentation will give you an understanding of how to achieve these tasks and build a strong supplier base to support your organization. When searching for suppliers to meet the needs of your organization, you must have certain objectives in focus. One of the most important objectives should be focusing on the needs of your organization. There is no benefit from selecting a supplier that can only complete a portion of the tasks needed by your organization. Equally important is finding suppliers that you can establish a long-term relationship with. There is no advantage in selecting a supplier that can only supply to you for 1 year, although there may be some occasions where this is necessary. This should be the exception, not the rule. You want to develop a supplier base that is long-term and strengthens over the years. You also want to align yourself with suppliers that have expertise, sometimes more than you in certain areas. This is like extending the knowledge of your organization beyond the walls of the building. It is also important to search for suppliers that have high quality levels in the products they produce. Probably the least considered objective when searching for a supplier is a consideration of how technologically savvy they are. Are they using electronic forms of data transmission? Do they have the latest tools to perform quality tests and measurements? All of these objectives are equally important to consider when selecting suppliers to build a strong, supportive supplier base. Most effective suppliers offer products and services that not only meet but exceed your expectations. Therefore, it is the responsibility of the purchaser to totally understand the organization's needs to ensure that what is being supplied. There are certain strategies that will be helpful in making sure the supplier base is in line with the company's needs. Having a large number of suppliers to support your organization may appear to be a good strategy. This could be deceiving actually. Having a manageable, targeted group of suppliers could be more beneficial. The advantages would include better control of fewer suppliers, giving a lot of work to a few suppliers rather than giving small amounts of work to a large group of suppliers will make your business more important to them. Awarding larger amounts of work to a supplier could give you a competitive edge and more negotiating power. The purchaser must be careful not to have too few suppliers. Having only one source for a product can be dangerous. What options would you have if that supplier does not perform to your expectations or even goes out of business? Also, while some suppliers may be motivated due to it being an exclusive supplier, others may become complacent and drop their standards. The attributes possessed by a supplier are essential to what makes them right for your organization. We will discuss some of the important attributes you should look for in a supplier when making the decision whether the supplier will be an asset to your supply chain. Reliability is an important characteristic a supplier should have. Unless there is a history with this supplier, there is no way to know if this exists. One way is to inquire about the supplier among your peers in the purchasing field. Chances are, if they have a reputation of being reliable, someone can give you some useful information. Likewise, if they are not reliable, someone will be able to tell you from personal experience. If this supplier is responsible for getting product to you and don't, then let you down and in turn let your customer down, this is not acceptable. Quality is another strong attribute a supplier should possess. The quality of products supplied needs to be consistent. Your customer associates poor quality with your organization, not your suppliers. Another key item is the value they bring to your product. Low price should not always be the considering factor when selecting a supplier. If quality is important, you have to consider what you are willing to pay for that quality. We have already noted that providing good quality product is an important attribute, but supplying quality costs money. Strong service and clear communication are just as important as the other characteristics of the supplier. The best suppliers will want to communicate with you often. If a supplier is going to be late on delivery, he or she will inform you of that prior to the date you are expecting parts. They will exercise honesty and will always look for ways to better serve you, the customer. Financial security is important. Of course, you never want to find out your supplier cannot get materials because cash flow is an issue. A credit check, especially for new suppliers, is essential. It can be used to reassure you that the supplier is not facing financial hardships. You also should look for suppliers that you can develop a partnership with. The partnership approach is the act of developing a strong relationship between you and your suppliers that will be beneficial to both parties. If the relationship is more of a partnership, the suppliers will help you look for resolution to problems because they will benefit as well. If you have been in the purchasing field for any period of time, you know that a salesperson will come to your door without an invitation. But this is not the ideal way to find suppliers. There are many proven approaches to find good, reliable suppliers, some of which we will look at. Talking with other purchasing professionals to get recommendations on the suppliers they have had pleasant experiences with is a good approach to building your supplier base. The best way to get to know how a supplier will react in certain situations is to speak with someone who has experienced this. Another source is to check directories. There are a lot of directories available that list suppliers by name or by areas of expertise that can be an avenue for finding a supplier. Trade associations are another good source for locating suppliers. Also, business advisors, such as the local Chamber of Commerce, can give names of suppliers in your area. Another business advisor may be business links on the internet. These links can sometimes give valuable information such as size, sales volume, and even comments from past customers. Many areas have annual trade and exhibition shows where suppliers are allowed to display their expertise to potential customers. This is usually a 3 to 5 day event where interaction with potential customers is unlimited. Suppliers generally display products that reveal their capabilities to the potential customer. Trade magazines also allow areas for paid advertisements from the suppliers. Also included would be contact information for potential customers that may be interested. By the time you have researched your pool of suppliers, a clear idea of what you need to buy should be known. Based on the information you gathered about the suppliers, you can build a list of potential suppliers that meet your needs. A battery of questions should be on your mind when selecting suppliers for your list. These questions should be considered for each supplier. 1. Will this supplier be able to deliver what I want when I want it? 2. Is this supplier financially secure? 3. How long has this supplier been in business? 4. Do I know anyone who has used and can recommend this supplier? 5. Is this supplier on any approved supplier list from trade associations? Granted, some research will be necessary to answer these questions, but it will be worth the time spent. While this is not a concrete guarantee, this will help you to develop relationships that are long-term, supportive, and beneficial for you. By going through this process, you should be able to develop a solid list of potential suppliers. Once you have developed your list of potential suppliers, you can ask them to quote on a project or supply, and if applicable, schedule a tour of their facility. Sometimes requesting them to produce a sample piece for you is appropriate. At this time, you should provide them with clear instructions on what you require, how often, and the level of business you wish to do with them. Number 1. Quote. You can get a quotation from the supplier. This is also the appropriate time to discuss capacity, discounts, high volume contracts, long-term commitments, etc. The same process should happen with all potential suppliers, which will give you information to do a supplier comparison. Potential supplier comparison. Once you have collected the quotes and had the discussion with each supplier, it is necessary to compare notes, so to say, for all potential suppliers. Realize that you're going to have to be very familiar with what would best fit your company. One supplier may have a low price, but another may have higher quality. If quality is more important than price, you must understand how much you are willing to pay for that quality. Third, always try to get understanding of the reputation of the business. Consider the ethical and environmental dimensions of your supplier. You do not want to be doing business with a company that has recently been the topic in the media for unethical business practices. Fourth, negotiation. There are certain things that are able to be negotiated with suppliers, so never rule out a supplier that may be lacking one or two things that could be important to your organization. Discuss the matter with them to see if you can come to an agreement on how to meet all the needs of the organization. Finally, all of your research and negotiation has been completed. Remember, a good supplier has also been evaluating you and your organization during this process. Now you have to put on your strategic hat, so to say. It is critical to remember the requirements your organization has to get fulfilled when trying to select suppliers. It is important to, first, spend time doing research. Inquire to other sources about the supplier. Perform a credit check. Understand prices and everything. Agree with the supplier on level of service expected. 6. Do not have a lot of suppliers. Finally, do not single source everything. Great. Now go and build a strong supplier base.